How can you tell the truth without losing trust? In a world where trust is fragile, speaking the truth seems simple, yet remains one of the greatest challenges. Not because truth is hard to know, but because it's easy to hurt. Between honesty and respect lies an invisible line. Crossing it without damaging trust requires not just skill, but maturity in ethics and emotional intelligence. Truth builds trust only when spoken with empathy, not with authority. Telling the truth doesn't break trust. It's unkind honesty that pushes people away. In many cultures, telling the truth is praised as a sign of integrity. But in real communication, truth is not simply what is correct. It is what is understood and accepted. Truth told poorly can feel like an attack, even if the speaker has no ill intent. When people feel judged, they stop listening, they become defensive. And when defensiveness arises, trust begins to crack. This shows that truth doesn't automatically build trust, it must travel on a softer path. Choosing positive language, adjusting tone, and clarifying constructive intent are vital steps. For example, instead of saying, "You're always late," say, "I feel worried when the timeline isn't followed." This doesn't blur the truth, it clarifies the real emotional impact. Truth doesn't reside in sentence structure, it lives in how others experience the words. And that is the intersection between ethics and emotional intelligence. Truth is not always easy to hear, but the way it is delivered can make it easier to receive. One major reason trust is lost is not because of the information, but because of how it is delivered. Many speak truth as a way of venting or asserting power. They believe "I have the right to be honest" is sufficient, forgetting that this right carries emotional responsibility. In communication ethics, speech is an action with consequences. It cannot be separated from context. When a leader speaks bluntly without empathy, their words are often seen as insensitive. In contrast, if truth is shared constructively, with active listening, and in a safe space, even bad news can become a chance to strengthen connection. Truth-tellers have the right to speak, but those who wish to preserve trust must learn to listen before they speak. In professional communication, the way truth is told greatly impacts long-term credibility and trust. When an expert gives honest feedback about an error, it can enhance their transparency in others' eyes. But if that feedback is phrased as a personal attack, it often triggers defensiveness and breaks trust. That's why constructive truth-telling is now a global leadership competency. For truth to preserve trust, it must meet three conditions: respect, clarity, and empathy. When a manager says, "This report isn't meeting expectations, but I'm here to work on it with you," the message delivers truth while maintaining motivation and trust. Truth doesn't need to be softened, but it must be humanized. Words do not merely convey information, they create emotional impact. When telling the truth, what matters is not just the right content, but the right context. Telling the truth in front of others can cause embarrassment, even if the information is accurate. Choosing the right moment, space, and tone allows truth to serve, not to wound. This is not an excuse for avoidance, it is a sign of emotional intelligence. Philosopher Hannah Arendt once said, "Truth belongs to no one, but the responsibility to speak it is always personal." When we care about the effects of our words, we care about the relationships we wish to preserve. Telling the truth is not about saying everything, it's about saying the essential, in the right way, for the right reasons. Culture deeply shapes how people define honesty. In many Western societies, directness is seen as a sign of trust. Yet in many Asian contexts, subtlety and face-saving are prioritized over blunt speech. This is not dishonesty, but a culturally coded form of truth, telling via tone, pause, or silence. Thus, in cross-cultural settings, applying an absolute honesty standard without cultural awareness can backfire and break trust. Telling the truth across cultures means understanding the language of feeling, not just the language of words. Here, intercultural communication becomes essential, not to alter the truth, but to translate it into a form that preserves connection. Truth may be medicine, but the way it is delivered determines whether it heals or hurts. When the truth teller focuses on ego, truth becomes a tool of assertion, not understanding. But when the focus is on the listener, truth becomes an act of care. Caring with truth doesn't mean being soft, it means softening the human connection. A teacher gives feedback not just to highlight errors, but to help students grow. A doctor shares bad news not only to inform, but to prepare the patient's heart. Likewise, in workplaces, truth is not just to protect the process, but to protect the people within it. Truth, when spoken with humanity, doesn't cost us trust. It multiplies connection. Truth is never the enemy of trust, except when we forget that words are bridges, not weapons. When we learn to speak the truth with empathy, we not only preserve connection, we make truth more trustworthy. If you believe truth and trust can coexist, share this message. Like if you've learned how to be honest without hurting. And follow to keep building a culture of communication rooted in humanity, not authority.